So in terms of translating some of these basic research investments that we've seen, for over decades into something that becomes a product, something that we can benefit in, something that we interact with, whether it's when we get on a plane or get in a car or turn on a computer. We had a whole panel talking about this translation, addressing the valley of death, leveraging the resources and infrastructure that exists. One of our entrepreneurs, Atasha Cape, who is a co-founder of 12, she said, "Right now is a golden hour for being an entrepreneur in deep tech, nanotechnology, or any other hard science." I thought that was great, because when you're in a room talking about climate change, it can be a little depressing. So having that enthusiasm, that optimism gave me hope. And so I thought we should talk a little bit about maybe some of the successes that we've seen, but maybe some of the challenges that our entrepreneurs are having, taking solutions in the laboratory and making sure that they are quickly and safely get into our hands.
I don't think it's the golden hour yet. And I think it depends on your perspective. I do think that there's a lot of, real and talked about state money, and there's a lot of investors that are making thesis based on this idea of investing in the space. But I say I don't think it's the golden hour, because I feel like the golden hour comes when there's a little bit of an amplification effect of successes that are doing things and moving the needle in a big way. And then you kind of get in there, things will start to really like a runaway reaction. I don't think we're there yet. I do think that we're still at a phase where we're going to miss a lot in the private sector. So I don't know. I think that there's funding to be had, but I think that also in the process of getting that funding, just speaking from my own experience, there's still a lot of misunderstanding about how to compute impact and where things fit in. And there's a lot of missing of the science related to things simple like windows or thermal interfaces or whatever they may be. Because when people miss the science and they're not an expert, they kind of already need to see the success to really appreciate and value it. Right? That's the chicken and egg issue associated with bringing things into market. There's a role for private, maybe not quite golden, but we're a little in the yellowish stage. So maybe a few more half decades will be golden, I think.
Or in the red stage, because gold is red at the nanoscale.
That's right. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, good nerd joke.
No one gets that except for you guys. Right.
I love that when I'm in a room of scientists. The best jokes.
Thinking about translating these discoveries into companies and products and whatnot, we heard a lot about SBIR. We heard a lot about user facilities, any number of different resources that exist. We had a number of entrepreneurs and other folks who are in the tech transfer business. I really felt like, for the most part, the programs and the resources exist, and it's a matter of making sure that it's easy enough to navigate and easy enough to access these tools. I don't know if that was something that you guys took away from, but I certainly felt like not all the problems are solved, but there's a lot more solutions out there than I think people realize.
One thing I think we could be better at, because I do think that money itself into a company or a technology transfer effort is not sufficient. That, when we think about these policies and how we are, in many ways trying to create a golden hour of policy related to climate change and energy, how can we tie these policy efforts to these prior investments as well? Right? Because there are a lot of areas in particular that the government has spent hundreds of millions of dollars in. And some of those efforts, you have little companies that pop up and then they get bits of money here and there, but it still takes more than that sometimes to change a market, to change a customer base that's entrenched, and being able to tie policy to previously funded efforts. I think that also enables this communication opportunity we have with the public to talk about government that doubles down on success, that's a good steward of resources and looks at what it has invested in, and not just from a monetary standpoint through like SBIRs, but ask its customer base and the people who build things for the government to do things to use this new science.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure this is specifically related to nanotechnology, other than that nanotechnologies are often new and risky technologies. But in order to find out if some great idea will work or not, often takes a long time, a lot of effort, and of course, a lot of money. And so I think there's just so many trade-offs. There's only so many ideas that can be supported. Some of the ideas that seem like the best ideas may run into an unsolvable roadblock after a lot of effort. And some, ideas that might seem crazy at first might be the ones that actually they were crazy enough that they just might work, right? So it's a real challenge to get the mindset to really support things long enough, how to choose what to support, because there's just not enough resources to support everything. So you do really have to pick and choose, and you have to know, you have to have time limits. I just think it's really hard. And I will say, I think a lot of the agencies do a pretty good job with this difficult problem of really, giving novel ideas a chance to prove themselves. I don't think there's failure going on here. I just think it's just a huge problem to figure out how to do this.